You did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at the sunset.
It's like being in the islands.
So is this.
Kahlua Cafe from General Foods International Coffees.
Delicious. What's this flavor? Kahlua.
I'm imagining tropical breezes.
And endless beaches.
The only after-dinner coffee with the flavor of real Kahlua.
It makes me want to be
Where?
right here, right now.
Celebrate the moments of your life.
Kahlua Cafe.
To pre-treating, Liquid Cheer really hits the spot.
When you have credit problems, everyone wants to help you buy a new car. But at Midwest Auto Credit Help, we have a few advantages. Selection over 5,000 new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and vans for you to choose from. Professional help. Over 20 credit specialists on hand. Faster response. Call us, write us, fax us, and we'll get back to you immediately. 1-800-850-CREDIT. There's someone available 24 hours a day, so call right now. 1-800-850-CREDIT. Midwest Auto Credit Help. Because your credit's not as bad as you think.
Wanda, pick me up. I'm gonna jump again.
Don't do it. You're not going to make it this time.
Here goes.
I sure hope that dress has a lot of padding.
Unbelievable but true. Floor towels starting at 29 cents a square foot. Lots of great colors and new styles, only 29 cents a square foot. So for rich man's carpet at a working man's price, visit Carpet and Towel Bargains in Hazelwood.
Veterans Carpet in Collinsville.
And Rothman's Carpet Outlet in Fairview Heights.
Tonight's episode of Space Precinct was brought to you by Burger King, where the burgers are always flame-broiled and always taste great. Burger King. Get your burgers worth.
Everybody's talking about the Tony Award-winning Broadway musical, Raisin. Adapted from Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun.
In my mother's house, there is still God.
Join J.T. Taylor, Howard Hewitt, Jeffrey Osborne, and Lynette Hawkins-Stevens. Raisin, coming to the Fox Theater. Tickets on sale now.
The electrifying bestseller that's thrilled millions across the nation is now coming to NBC.
There's nothing here to kill every human being on the planet.
A mysterious virus.
No one seems to have any idea where it came from.
Spreading across the nation.
This case is a damn outbreak.
One doctor risks her life to save millions.
We've got to get these people into isolation immediately.
Our hospitals are closing down. A motion picture thriller that reunites Nicolette Sheridan and William Devane.
I could be contaminated.
Robin Cook's Virus, tonight on NBC.
A News Channel 5 team investigation, Jobs 2000. Find out how St. Louis plans to create 100,000 new jobs. Jobs 2000, tonight at 10 on News Channel 5, where the news comes first.
Do these women have what it takes to look like Cosmo cover girls? Wait till you see their Cosmo makeovers. Next, Oprah.
Oprah, today at 4 on Channel 5.
We think if we're going to protect, preserve, and improve Medicare, we have to make some tough decisions.
It's ironic in a way that here we are celebrating VE Day, a generation that saved mankind virtually from the fascism of Nazism, a generation that sacrificed tremendously, and we've been able to come up with a good health insurance program for them. Clearly it needs to be reformed. We all understand that. But I don't think many of us are going to sit back and watch them go after this trust fund in order to pay for a tax cut that this crowd wants to satisfy its contributors. We're going to fight that very, very strongly.
This week, both Senate and House budget committees are expected to address Medicare reform when they release their plans for a balanced budget. A year-long study on a program for disabled children contradicts claims by some U.S. lawmakers. Part of the Republican welfare reform plan replaces cash payments to many disabled children with services. Some lawmakers had charged that parents coach their children to act disabled in order to get the money. Instead, the nonpartisan study found cash payments enable families to care for the children at home rather than institutionalize them. Many older Americans believe they don't remember things as well as they used to. Andrew Holtz reports on a class that offers some reassuring lessons.
With gaggles of golf carts and no residents under age 55 allowed, Sun City, Arizona and the retirement communities that bloomed around it are on the leading edge of a graying America. Sun City's dominant healthcare provider, Sun Health, offers a community education center bulging with information on what else? Aging. Class is about to begin.
Okay, how many did their assignments?
The retirees here have a keen interest in the subject, memory.
And this is where most of your problems are.
Of course, both my wife and I, we wonder if we're getting Alzheimer's, but I don't think we really are, but I just don't remember things, especially things that she tells me,
I'm going to give you a very short period of time. I want you to look at this list of words and memorize it.
The instructor offers tips for improving recall.
You must be getting more, you're taking longer.
And there's welcome reassurance.
Did you feel better about yourself? Of course. Yeah. Remember, you're never the victim. You always have a choice. When you don't remember something, it's because you chose not to pay attention. With age, unless there is trauma to the brain, you do not lose any memory functioning. In fact, on the so-called IQ tests, you actually keep scoring higher and higher as you get older and older.
Yet what isn't used may wither.
I remember overhearing two women in a library, and they were picking up books, and one said, "What are you taking?" And the other responded, "I don't have to use my mind anymore." So, it's the saddest thing I've heard around here.
Andrew Holtz, CNN, Sun City, Arizona.
A national survey has found parents aren't making children buckle up, wear bike helmets, or take other safety precautions. Accidental death is the leading killer of children under 15. The National Safe Kids Campaign survey found 79% of parents let children under 9 cross the street alone. 44% said children under 5 were not always supervised in the bathtub. Just ahead in Headline Consumer News, women of the 90s may wear many hats, including hard hats, but some worry they'll be losing ground instead of breaking it.
The South will get mostly 70s and 80s on Monday, still a little chilly across the north, with snow possible in the western mountains.
This is Headline News, a CNN network.
On News Channel 5 Team Investigation, Jobs 2000. If you're searching for a better job, you may soon be able to find it in St. Louis. In a News Channel 5 Team Investigation, find out how St. Louis plans to create 100,000 new jobs, how to make yourself more attractive to a potential employer, and learn innovative ways to find your next job. Jobs 2000, tonight at 10 on News Channel 5, where the news comes first.
Hi, I'm Mike Bush. This week, Volunteer 5 is featuring the Fantasy Camp for the Hearing Impaired. This camp allows hearing impaired children to do something they're not always allowed to do, play organized baseball. And the camp is looking for experienced coaches, sign and oral interpreters, and financial sponsors. To lend a helping hand, please call the Volunteer 5 hotline.
Volunteer 5, in partnership with Consolidated Communications Long Distance and St. Joseph Hospital West, a member of the St. Louis Healthcare Network.
Remember this?
Your Honor, you can't be here.
Now, Marsha Clark's ex-husband tells Inside Edition.
It was my night to be with the children.
The prosecutor accused of neglecting her kids by the ex who wants to take them in.
A father isn't a guy who comes by on the weekends.
Clark versus Clark. Plus, look who's coming to win at a place called Churchill Downs. The show? Inside Edition, of course.
Inside Edition, weekdays at 3, only on Channel 5. When it happens in Illinois, News Channel 5 is there. From the Belleville Town Square to the Great River Road, the News Channel 5 Illinois Bureau travels to where news happens. Led by Illinois native Tom Atwood, the News Channel 5 Illinois Bureau brings you detailed coverage, late-breaking news stories, and the events that affect your life. News Channel 5 brings you the most complete coverage on both sides of the river. News Channel 5, where the news comes first.
Many women have found careers in the construction industry thanks to affirmative action programs, but now those programs are under fire and some worry their opportunities may vanish. Rusty Dornan reports.
Are 14 by 14. Do you know if we have to frame them out exactly?
When Lisa Swardlow first swung a hammer, she found the door not only closed, but locked when it came to joining the guys on a professional level.
I did attempt to join the Carpenters Union. This is in the early 70s, and there was absolutely no way that they were going to allow me into the union.
Now she owns her own construction firm. According to a new study, since 1991, the percentage of women-owned construction firms rose nearly 20%. Affirmative action programs give women and minorities special opportunities to bid on government contracts.
Basically took out all the existing plumbing.
For contractor Judith Thompson and others, it has meant a foot in the door.
Without affirmative action and the ability to go for those jobs and know that I can go for them, I wouldn't get it. I wouldn't compete. I wouldn't even think about competing.
Without the goals, they would never have called you or taken your bid.
Now many women fear that affirmative action may soon disappear. With it, their opportunities.
It's just at that point now where I'm seeing recognizable results from affirmative action. I think it's quite ironic that right now they want to quash the program.
The co-author of an initiative to ban affirmative action in California says the programs increase resentment.
We have to try to pull people together, and we can't do it with a legal code which focuses on race, ethnicity, and gender.
On the job site, respect can be hard to come by.
Constant practical jokes, guys stealing your tools, putting glue in your bags.
There's some resentment where they think they could be doing better than a woman. Maybe they're stronger or something like that.
Some believe banishing affirmative action programs will level the playing field. Many women in construction fear that field will return to teams made up solely of white males. Rusty Dornan, CNN, San Francisco.
We'll run down all the weekend scores next in Headline Sports.
This is Headline News, a CNN network.
The electrifying bestseller that's thrilled millions across the nation is now coming to NBC.
There's nothing here to kill every human being on the planet.
A mysterious virus.
No one seems to have any idea where it came from.
Spreading across the nation.
This case is a damn outbreak.
One doctor risks her life to save millions.
We have got to get these people into isolation immediately.
Our hospitals are closing down. A motion pictures thriller that reunites Nicolette Sheridan and William Devane.
I could be contaminated.
Robin Cook's Virus, tonight on NBC.
The spirit of the Olympics burns brightly in people of all ages. Hi, I'm Mike Bush. Join News Channel 5 May 28th through May 31st and experience the thrill of the St. Louis Senior Olympics. Men and women 55 years and older can register now to participate in the competition. From running and swimming to volleyball and the javelin, there's an event you can excel in. Call to register at 432-5705 and catch the spirit of the St. Louis Senior Olympics.
A News Channel 5 team investigation. Jobs 2000. If you're searching for a better job, you may soon be able to find it in St. Louis. In a News Channel 5 team investigation, find out how St. Louis plans to create 100,000 new jobs, how to make yourself more attractive to a potential employer, and learn innovative ways to find your next job. Jobs 2000, tonight at 10 on News Channel 5, where the news comes first.
Do these women have what it takes to look like Cosmo cover girls?
We're going to fly you to Chicago to do a Cosmo makeover.
Wait till you see when the real cover girls give them the Cosmo look. Sultry eyes, pouty lips, big hair, and a lot of cleavage.
Beautiful.
Plus, Cosmo's sexy new male centerfold. And for spring training, Rosie's making low-fat snacks to cure those munchie cravings on the next Oprah.
Oprah, today at 4 on Channel 5.
Steve Wrigley, Headline Sports. The New York Knicks left Indiana's Reggie Miller unaccounted for 9 seconds, and Miller made him pay with 8 points in a 9-second span. Down 6 with 18 seconds to play. Miller hit a pair of three-pointers and then the game-winning free throws and the 107-105 win. Miller was overheard yelling choke artist on the way to the locker room. He denied it in the post-game press conference. The final 10 seconds of Orlando's 94-91 win over Chicago were a nightmare for Michael Jordan. Nick Anderson tipped it away from Jordan to Penny Hardaway. Former Bull Horace Grant slammed home the go-ahead points. Chicago had one last shot, but Scottie Pippen couldn't handle the pass from Jordan. Orlando by 3. The defending champs from Houston advanced with a 95-91 win over Utah. Hakeem hit for 33 points. Next up for the Rockets, the Phoenix Suns. The Philadelphia Flyers managed a 4-3 overtime win against Buffalo, sans the services of Eric Lindros. Carl Dykhouse put an end to things with a knuckler that Dominic Hasek couldn't handle. Detroit dropped Dallas 4-3. The Red Wings are after their first cup in 40 years. Vyacheslav Kozlov put the rebound past Andy Moog to snap a 3-3 tie. New Jersey shut out Boston. Martin Brodeur stopped 23 shots. St. Louis stopped Vancouver 2-1. San Jose clipped Calgary. The Toronto Maple Leafs won in Chicago. Small market Milwaukee whooped the big boys from New York 9-1. Craig Vaughn had only 3 RBIs in the first 8 games. He had 6 RBIs in his last 3 games, including 2 in Sunday's rout. Kevin Seitzer with a slam. Boston drubbed Detroit 12-1. Tim Namering helped rookie Vaughn Eshelman run his scoreless inning streak to 13. Troy O'Leary hit a 3-run homer. Cleveland over Minnesota in 17 innings. Baltimore beat Toronto. Kansas City handed Chicago their 8th loss in 10 games. Oakland over Texas. Seattle nipped the California Angels. The LA Dodgers outlasted the Colorado Rockies 12-10. Mike Piazza powered out a pair, including a grand slam. 6 RBIs for Piazza. Philadelphia has taken 3 straight from Atlanta. Pittsburgh nipped Chicago. Jeff Francero's 3-0 from Montreal. The Reds doubled the Mets. St. Louis edged Houston. San Francisco pummeled the Padres. Mark Calcavecchia birdied 3 of the last 4 holes for a 6-under-66 at the Bell South. The 16-under total ended the 3-year victory drought. Jim Gallagher Jr. finished 2 whacks back. Bob Murphy's 369 was a winner at the Payne-Weber. Michelle McGann beat Lori Davies by a shot at the Sara Lee. Michael Chang beat Andre Agassi 6-4 in the 3rd and final set at the AT&T. Dale Earnhardt took the checkered flag at the Save Mart 300. Steve Wrigley, Headline Sports.
News, a CNN network.
You know you need life insurance to protect the family you love. We know the way things go, it's hard to find the money to pay the premiums. You know you've got to do it, and we know we can help you. To protect your family's future security, many financial advisors recommend insurance coverage equal to 5 times your annual income. Wait, before you say, I can't afford that, look into this money-saving offer from Garden State Life Insurance. If you're in good health and don't smoke cigarettes, Garden State Life can offer you quality term life insurance that may save you as much as 50% off what you're paying for term life insurance protection. Garden State Life guarantees your premiums remain the same for 8, 10, even 20 years to come. So if you need $25,000 to $1 million or more of quality life insurance protection, call today, 800-257-1333 for this free information package and confidential coverage proposal. Garden State Life Insurance, 800-257-1333, 257-1333.
A New Jersey nun is chanting her way to the top of the record charts. Jeannie Mose has her story.
This may not look like the home of a recording star. Forget stars, she's into crosses. Sister Germaine Fritz doesn't wear a habit, but she's in the habit of being #1, her CD that is.
This is a classical crossover. It's been on the top of the what's that called?
The Billboard chart. Her CD was on top for 17 weeks. Now, normally that's none of a nun's business. Not until Angel Records came seeking
a real nun that sings chant.
First, there were the chanting monks from a monastery in Spain. The success Angel Records had with the monks led them to the chanting nun.
I can just recall that when I was a little girl, I used to watch the flying nun.
Sister Germaine doesn't fly, though her voice soars.
I remember from childhood this singing nun record that we had, Dominica, Nika, Nika. I remember that.
Sister Germaine hasn't had quite the exposure Debbie Reynolds did in the movie.
Here is the singing nun, Sister Ann.
Dominica, Nika, Nika, I will tell of Dominique.
Do the other sisters ever, make any singing nun kind of jokes?
Not too much, no.
You don't get teased?
No. Oh, they're enjoying it thoroughly, yeah.
Makes me feel just wonderful.
We're happy for her.
45 Benedictine nuns live at the St. Walburga Monastery in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Sister Germaine Fritz is their prioress, and this was the rehearsal.
That bell came in too soon.
For Sister Germaine's first major public appearance at St. John the Divine Cathedral in New York. She sings all the time at religious services, but Sister Germaine was worried she'd be nervous at a major performance.
I'm a little calm right now, thank God. But I hope it stays that way.
It did. What do you think about when you chant?
Chant is prayer.
Record producer Tony McEnany says Sister Germaine didn't act like a regular nun.
She sang the blues with the guys in the studio.
Sister Germaine says her Benedictine community hasn't yet decided what to do with the money the CD makes. At her performance, there was no bantering between numbers, and her fans were certainly well behaved.
Anybody can be a star. It's just a matter of marketing. You can pick a nun, you can pick a monk, you can pick a kid. It's just a matter of how you package it. And I think it's a beautiful package.
You're not worried about becoming like Madonna or some rock?
Needless to say, not at all.
Sister Germaine is letting her vocal cords go with the flow. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
Coming up in the next half hour, life slowly returns to normal in Oklahoma City, but the grieving continues. Will child safety seats soon be required on commercial airplanes? And a new movie trend that leaves boys on the side. Those stories and much more in just 2 minutes. I'm Gordon Gray on the whole day's news every half hour. This is Headline.
This is Headline News, a CNN network.
You're watching News Channel 5, where the news comes first.
Good morning, I'm Tim Lampley. Almost $150,000 is the amount of money raised by From All Walks of Life event this weekend. More than 7,000 people turned out for the walk led by Mayor Freeman Bosley Jr. and KSDK's Deanne Lane. Money raised from the walk goes directly to local organizations that provide services for people infected with HIV. We'll have another news update in 1 hour.
When you have credit problems, everyone wants to help you buy a new car. But at Midwest Auto Credit Help, we have a few advantages. Selection over 5,000 new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and vans for you to choose from. Professional help. Over 20 credit specialists on hand. Faster response. Call us, write us, fax us, and we'll get back to you immediately. 1-800-850-CREDIT. There's someone available 24 hours a day, so call right now. 1-800-850-CREDIT. Midwest Auto Credit Help. Because your credit's not as bad as you think.
Wanda, pick me up. I'm gonna jump again.
Don't do it. You're not gonna make it this time.
Here goes.
I sure hope that dress has a lot of padding.
9x12 plush carpet or 9x12 no wax linoleum, only $29. Unbelievable but true. Cover a 9x12 room, $29. So for rich man's carpet at a working man's price, visit Carpet and Tile Bargains in Hazelwood,
Veterans Carpet in Collinsville,
and Rothman's Carpet Outlet in Fairview Heights.
Rick Edlund. He investigated St. Louis streets to see why crime is claiming so many of our children. Rick Edlund, only on News Channel 5, where the news comes first. John Fuller on News Channel 5, where the news comes first.
Good morning and welcome to NBC Nightside. I'm Tom Donovan.
And I'm Tom Miller. In the news this morning, powerful tornadoes hit Oklahoma and Texas, raising the death toll in a series of storms that began Friday.
President Clinton goes to Moscow to celebrate the German surrender in World War II and to meet with Russian President Boris Yeltsin.
And Cuban Americans protest President Clinton's new policy of returning boat people to Cuba. But we begin with the storms in Oklahoma. Tom?
Tom, they're still surveying the damage in southern Oklahoma after tornadoes ripped through the town of Ardmore. The twisters in Oklahoma have claimed at least 3 lives.
I've got major damage at the funeral plant. It's totally destroyed the funeral plant. Totally destroyed.
A television photographer captured these pictures as a twister struck in the town about 100 miles south of Oklahoma City. At least 5 tornadoes touched down, causing severe damage. Reporter Tara Bloom this morning from the community of Rolling Hills, which sustained a lot of damage but no loss of life.
It's as though the tornado took at least a chunk out of every home in the Southern Hills addition. For the Seiperts, the twister took a lot more than just a chunk. They're relieved they listened to the sirens and headed for a nearby school cellar.
Yeah, we always go when they blow the sirens. We've gone they've blown them 4 times probably the last month, and we've gone all 4 times. And this time, the past 4 times, nothing ever happened, but this time something did. The window in this room right here has been blown out, and they blew the door off the hinges.
This door just came blown off its hinges. Wow.
Just trying to get as much stuff out of it as we can. Mainly, we're trying to get this car, for one thing.
Yeah. Church friends of Les Bugby descended on his house to help him unearth his cherished 72 Charger and salvage whatever else they could before the next downpour let loose.
I'm the DA here, and I was out, and I got here and found it, and I called them and mobilized the church to get out here and help them to try to get to safety, shelter. For the freight train, that was it.
Everyone is still amazed there were no injuries here. But many people, like Carol Ricketts, who rode out the storm with her 2 kids in her utility room, says next time she's going to get somewhere safer.
It's unbelievable.
The storm system began Friday, killing at least 15 people in hailstorms and floods in Texas. Last night near Amarillo, a powerful twister touched down 3 times within 8 miles. An occupant of a trailer home was killed when the storm blew it apart. Several others were injured.
President Clinton heads for Russia today to observe the 50th anniversary of VE Day. He'll attend ceremonies at Moscow's Red Square, and then it's on to summit meetings with Russian President Boris Yeltsin. And as NBC's Amy Roth reports, the summit comes at a time of strained relations between the 2 former Cold War enemies.
On June 22, 1941, Germany attacked the Soviet Union without warning. By November, the Germans reached the gates of Moscow. It became known here as the Great Patriotic War. And when it was over in 1945, some 20 million were dead.
It is Russia's great loss that is bringing Bill Clinton to Moscow. And after Victory Day celebrations are over, Clinton and Russian President Boris Yeltsin will get down to business. They'll discuss Russia's likely plans to sell nuclear reactors to Iran, the future of NATO, and Chechnya.
The war in Chechnya has made some foreign leaders uneasy about attending next week's ceremonies, including Bill Clinton. Though the war continues, Clinton is coming to Moscow, and most Americans approve.
I don't see it as an endorsement of Chechnya. It's more in commemoration of what happened in World War II and acknowledging all that Russia went through.
On May 9th, nearly 50 world leaders will recognize Russia's contribution to World War II, and Moscow is preparing. Finishing touches are being made to a statue that will stand guard to the city's war memorial. At night, troops have been practicing their parade route, tying and eating up Moscow streets. And thousands of veterans have come together to practice marching again to tunes of victory from 50 years ago. For them and the world, it will be a day to remember for so many who lost so much. Amy Rolfe, NBC News, Moscow.
And there was tragedy during preparations for the VE Day celebrations in Moscow. A 79-year-old American Army veteran died when his parachute failed to open during a practice for a commemorative jump to mark the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II. Roland Duff of Fort Myers, Florida, was a member of the 82nd Airborne Division. He had successfully participated in a jump during the Normandy commemoration last year.
Victory in Europe celebrations have been going on all weekend in London, and Sunday was a day of reconciliation and prayer. Leaders from 54 nations that fought in World War II gathered in London's Hyde Park. Queen Elizabeth hosted the pageant of music and dancing. Heads of state made a symbolic vow of peace as they signed olive leaves. In Berlin Sunday, violence erupted at a large peace rally commemorating the end of World War II. A number of demonstrators and police were injured as fights broke out. Police in riot gear stormed the crowd, trying to take down banners of the banned Kurdistan Workers' Party. And more violence rocks Sarajevo, leaving more dead. Authorities are reporting that Serb forces shelled a Sarajevo suburb, killing as many as 10 and injuring 15. The shells hit near a tunnel used for transporting vital military and civilian supplies into the besieged capital. Bosnia's Serbs deny responsibility for the attack. The shelling was the worst attack on Sarajevo since a 4-month truce expired 1 week ago. The third time was apparently the charm for Jacques Chirac. The mayor of Paris has won France's presidential race. Chirac faced Lionel Jospin in a runoff election. The win marks a new beginning for conservatives. They now have their first chance since 1981 to exercise full control over foreign and domestic policy. Chirac replaces President Francois Mitterrand, who ends a 14-year presidency. As the weekend of memorial services drew to a close Sunday in Oklahoma City, the FBI continued its hunt for bombing suspects, while congressional leaders discussed what limits the government should place on extremist groups. Here's more from Nightside's Jim Hanchett.
I don't really think there is. Not any sane man would think of doing something like this.
With the memorial services for victims and rescue workers over and the police barricades all but eliminated, Sunday in Oklahoma City was a day to come downtown and see for yourself.
To see it for us grown-ups sort of helps you to accept it, and I think it's sort of answering their questions because they've had lots of questions about it. And
it's not easy to explain to them, is it?
No.
Even on a rainy, dreary day, people from miles around came to look at the blast site where 164 people died and 2 women are still missing.
It's just something you just got to see with your own eyes to believe. You don't believe it until you see it.
The building is also the spark of a battle shaping up in Congress over the government's right to investigate the militia groups that have loosely been tied to the bombing. On NBC's Meet the Press, House Speaker Newt Gingrich.
It may be emotionally satisfying to run around and find new groups to get mad at, but I think the message ought to be much narrower. We are opposed to violence. We condemn violence.
The FBI, meanwhile, is continuing its hunt for unidentified suspect John Doe number 2. Despite dozens of sightings here in Oklahoma City and across the continent, he is still at large, and the FBI has had no public comment on the case for nearly a week. And in a region where religion runs deep, this third Sunday since the terrorist attack was a day to remember that the bomb tore the building apart, but brought the city together.
I've seen a difference in the lives of people helping people.
People have come together.
People have came together.
In the week to come, officials will begin to make decisions on what to do next with what's left here. But on this Sunday, what's left here are mostly flowers. Jim Hanchett, NBC News, Oklahoma City.
Police photographer Mike Wilson is expected to take the stand today in the O.J. Simpson murder trial. He's the photographer who took pictures inside Simpson's house the morning after O.J.'s ex-wife Nicole and her friend Ronald Goldman were killed. The defense contends that police framed Simpson. A DNA expert and a tow truck driver who hauled Simpson's Bronco to a storage yard are also expected to testify this week. Cuban Americans staged a demonstration Sunday against U.S. policy on Cuban refugees. They took to the streets to protest the Clinton administration's decision to start returning Cubans to their homeland. That decision reverses a long-standing policy of accepting the Cuban rafters. More now from reporter Nick Bogert.
Time and again, protesters bolted the barricades and blocked roadways, but police did not come down hard.
Let him down. He's already done. Let him down.
Policy is facilitate, not confrontational, let them vent their frustrations.
So when barricades and the front line of officers failed to contain this man, his dive to the street nearly knocking over a policeman, he was not arrested. He got a friendly talking to rather than a set of handcuffs. This was a sit-down protest with ground rules.
The police agreed not to remove the demonstrators. The demonstrators agreed to limit their time on the pavement to 15 minutes.
Civil disobedience is the only thing that is left for us because the world doesn't listen.
Civil disobedience will take place in many other forms and other places.
Some hope their protest will change the Clinton policy returning rafters to Cuba. Others have given up on this administration and hope Congress or the courts will intervene. Eduardo Gelabert protested with special enthusiasm, saying his cousins Cesar and Ulises Cabale are among the 13 rafters headed back to Cuba. And Eduardo fears back to big trouble.
They were already in prison 4 times for trying to leave, and they were told the 5th time, we'll make you disappear from the map.
Other than some split trousers, we saw no injuries to police or protesters. There were a few arrests early on when protesters' cars blocked the port entrance drive. A handful of folks charged with failure to obey a lawful command to move a motor vehicle. And a couple of truckers who later blocked the entrance with their rigs were also arrested. But most folks did short-term pavement protest with police consent, even when Biscayne Boulevard was blocked off, or a 15-minute rally outside the Freedom Tower, where so many Cubans were welcomed into this country in the 60s.
That was Nick Bogert reporting. Miami's Cuban leaders vow to use similar means of civil disobedience to get their message across.
And coming up next, what can be done about the Medicare crisis? House Speaker Newt Gingrich has a suggestion when he meets the press.
And coming up later on Nightside, when is clipping coupons a crime? We'll show you. Stay with us.
Discover the power of gospel's greatest hits. CGI Records presents a soul-stirring collection of 28 classics by America's greatest gospel artists, including Vicki Winans.
Came to remind you, no cross, yeah. And you surely won't get no cry.
The legendary Andre Crouch. Walter Hawkins and the Love Center Choir. The Winans. The New Jersey Mass Choir. And Bo Williams. Plus, if you order today, we'll send you a free bonus CD or cassette. That's 40 songs on 3 CDs or cassettes. A special offer not available in stores.
To order, call now, 1-800-542-6600. That's 1-800-542-6600. Or send $19.95 for records or cassettes, $24.95 for CDs, plus $3.50 shipping and handling to Gospel's Greatest Hits. P.O. Box 9327, Downers Grove, Illinois, 60515. Call 1-800-542-6600 now.
If you need extra strength medication to treat itchy skin, you're not alone.
I get a steady itch, and it's around my waist, and it's very irritating.
Now you can solve your itchy skin problems with new extra strength Gold Bond medicated powder.
When I put it on, it soothes the rash, and it stops the itching.
Extra Strength Gold Bond has an extra strength triple action formula. We take our proven absorbing action, then add more pain reliever for medicating action, and extra zinc oxide for drying action.
The itching doesn't bother me anymore.
New Extra Strength Gold Bond medicated powder.
Republican leaders are accusing President Clinton of playing politics with Medicare reform. House Speaker Newt Gingrich was on NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, where he outlined a plan for changing the system that provides medical insurance for senior citizens. Here's a portion of the program.
Everyone who is not being politically partisan agrees that you have to do something to save Medicare. We believe that we can preserve Medicare and we can protect it, not by cutting it, but by very boldly improving it. We want to, for example, allow every senior citizen to check their own bills, and if they save money by finding waste, they would get 10% of what they save. We think you'll see a dramatic change, and I can give you stories about that in a minute. We believe that there ought to be 6 or 7 alternatives. Medical savings accounts, buying private insurance, going to individually managed care, going to coordinated care, going to other. Starting with this premise, though, and I want to say this very clearly so we don't get into demagoguery before the day is out from our friends on the other side. We are going to propose to keep the current Medicare system for anyone who wants to stay in it. We're going to say, if you're 75 or 80 or 85 years old and you don't want any changes, fine. Here's the current system. And we're going to do everything we can to keep that system operating exactly as it does now. However, we also recognize that there have to be changes. And the changes have to be, the trust fund is just unequivocal. If you don't make major changes, it goes broke.
Larry Potts has been appointed deputy director of the FBI. He was censured for his role in the killing of Randy Weaver's wife. What do you think of the appointment or elevation of Larry Potts?
Look, I have great respect for Director Free. I think that he is doing a good job. I think he's a very professional man. I respect his administrative judgment. I can tell you that will further slow down the terrorist legislation and will mean even greater concern over civil liberties.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about foreign policy. The president leaves for Moscow tomorrow, and the Washington Post reported this morning that he's going to try to smooth over Russian objections to the expansion of NATO to include former Soviet bloc countries like Poland. How do you think the president should proceed on this issue?
Well, first of all, I hope before he focuses on smoothing over that he's very direct about the Russian plan to sell a nuclear reactor to Iran. I mean, I'm not nearly as interested in Russia being happy with us as the Russians ought to be with us being happy with them. And I think that the idea that they're going to sell a nuclear reactor without adequate safeguards to Iran is totally intolerable. And I think, I hope he'll first say, if you're going to have a friendship, you have to be honest with each other. And I hope he'll first say to President Yeltsin, this is not going to be acceptable in America. I mean, we're not going to tolerate Iran getting nuclear weapons.
And if the Russians insist on going ahead with their deal to provide nuclear technology to Iran, what should the United States response be?
I think it would have very serious consequences, and I think the discussions about NATO would be virtually irrelevant. I think that unless the Russians are prepared to accept very, very severe safeguards to ensure that it's only a reactor for power purposes, that none of the raw material can be used to make a bomb, that there's very careful records kept and very careful inspections, I just don't think that, I think that this is a very serious problem.
If the Russians insist on going ahead with that deal, are you prepared to cut off all aid?
I'm not prepared today to say what we would do, but I think it would have catastrophic consequences in the Congress.
That is House Speaker Newt Gingrich on Sunday's Meet the Press.
Okay, time now to check today's forecast for the nation. A low pressure system is expected to push into the plain states. Severe thunderstorms are expected in the Mississippi, Tennessee, and Ohio river valleys. Forecasters predict it will remain cool in the northeast with some rain and snow showers possible over Maine. California, western Nevada, and Arizona are the areas likely to see dry weather today. Here now are conditions expected in cities near you as we take a look at the hot attractions at the Denver Zoo, seals, and polar bears.
Why compromise on a laxative
Part of you wants a strong one you know works. Part of you wants a gentle one for comfort. Don't compromise. Get both with Dulcolax. Dulcolax is strong and gentle. It combines an effective overnight ingredient no other leading brand has with a special comfort coating to protect your stomach. Doctors recommend Dulcolax more than X-Lax and Correctol combined. Don't compromise. Get strong. Get gentle. Get Dulcolax.
Success. No matter how you define it, the information and ideas that can help you achieve it are here in the Wall Street Journal. For you, success might be more business than you've ever dreamed of, or seeing your kids through college. There are many ways to define success, but there's one source you can count on to help you reach it: the Wall Street Journal. The Journal is news that really matters to you, information that brings you a whole new perspective, ideas that can move you closer to your goals, whatever they are. Success? It could be your career, reaching new heights. Call now for the Wall Street Journal and get your free guide to planning your financial future. Over 170 pages of facts, figures, and information you need to start planning a secure future right now. Get 10 weeks of the Wall Street Journal for just $38 and get the guide free. Call now toll-free, 800-572-6500. That's 800-572-6500.
When I have athlete's foot, I use one of these products. But when I get everyday foot itch, I use Gold Bond medicated powder.
Gold Bond medicated powder's triple action formula stops foot itch with a proven itch fighter, soothes and protects sensitive skin, and by absorbing moisture, helps keep athlete's foot fungi from growing.
Gold Bond medicated powder does it all. My foot itch is gone.
For fast relief of everyday foot itch, use triple action Gold Bond medicated powder, regular and extra strength.
Looks like the NBA champions, Houston, might get a chance to go all the way.